Welcome everybody to the weekly WP Roundup with BJ Keeton. That's me. Every Friday afternoon we get together and we talk about the best WordPress related articles that were published this week. We have a really active comment section, so feel free to say hello, ask any questions, throw in any kind of comments that you have, and just make sure that you expand the description of this video so that you'll find all of the links that we're talking about. You can follow along, you can keep them open in 1,000 tabs in your browser, or probably a couple of dozen more accurately, and give the content creators some love so that we can keep doing this every Friday afternoon. So make sure, like I said, that you say hi. I will probably get distracted by the comments like I just did when I was reading it. I saw someone on YouTube say to push the thumbs up button, and I thought they were telling you to push the thumbs down button. I was like, what did I do? So like I said, throw anything you have in the comments. It would be wonderful to hear from you. I see a lot of people from New Hampshire and Australia and the UK. It's just fantastic to see you guys. So I want to move into the news, and the only news really, this was an actually very slow news week in terms of WordPress. We didn't have a whole lot of just major updates. Divi didn't have an update that we needed to really get out there, and so I wanted to talk about the what's new in Gutenberg this week because I thought it was actually pretty cool. I've mentioned before that I'm a fan of Gutenberg, and with this new functionality that is in the Gutenberg plugin that will eventually be rolled into Core, I wanted to at least mention it for those of you who are using that. I wanted to let you know that they have what is called snack bar notices, where it's just a new notifications way in it. Like that is absolutely something that will be there in the corner of the screen. You'll be able to interact with, and it's just going to be a little bit cleaner. But what I liked about it more than anything else, the reason that I actually considered this newsworthy, is that they're allowing you to group multiple blocks together and nest them. So you can essentially have the column and row structure within a Gutenberg block, and I really like that for blogging. Like I said before, I'm not sold on Gutenberg as a page builder. I still much prefer Divi for that, but with Gutenberg allowing you to group these blocks and nest them, it is going to make your blog look a lot better. Your posts are going to have a lot more dynamism to them, so that you can really make them stand out. So that's really the biggest news that I saw of the week. Like there were, we've got tutorials and resources that are just fantastic, but I did want to just make sure that we got into that and that you update Gutenberg if you're using that plugin so that you can get the cool new features. I see the comments that that Uncle Social gave a thumbs up for my haircut. I appreciate it. And yeah, you can certainly see the gray. Every time I get a haircut, you can see the gray in my hair a lot more. It was, I've been going gray for almost 20 years now. It's I think I was about 19 the first time I noticed a gray hair. So if I'm only this far away from it, I'll be a silver fox before you know it. I see David Reed asks, where's the promised WooCommerce update? And it is coming. It is coming really, really soon. I'm not sure on the timeline on it, but it is in QA right now. So usually whenever something finishes up QA, it gets live very, very soon after that. So it should be very soon. I'm not on the dev team to know where it is within that timeline, but it is. We're expecting it I don't want to say any day now, but it will be probably very, very soon, as soon as they quash all of the QA bugs, if they find any. So I see. Hi, Donald. I see. But yeah. Excuse me. I can't swallow. My mouth got dry. But yeah, the WooCommerce update is fantastic from the stuff that I've seen of it. It is a very, very cool update. So y'all will be working with that really, really quickly. Um, thank you guys who are just joining us. I know it's been just a few minutes, but I always say that whenever I go to tutorials. So since it hasn't been that long, I just went the habit on it. So moving into tutorials, I wanted to point out the ultimate guide that Elegant Themes posted this week on using UTM links for marketing and link tracking. UTMs are something that we see every single day. And if you're sending out any kind of emails, if you're linking on social, if you're really doing anything where you want to track the analytics back to your site, you really should be using some sort of UTM campaign. People get confused by them though, because they're not, you don't just, I don't even know how to say this. They seem way more complicated than they actually are. So if you look into the guide that we've published this week, you'll see that you can use a link generator to include all of the parameters that you need, and we also show you how to go through Google Analytics to track those campaigns based on those links. It is incredibly simple to do once you learn how to do it, and that's going to give you a lot more insight on where to spend your marketing dollars. It's going to send you a lot more information on how you're acquiring your visitors, on maybe what you need to step up. The UTM links are incredibly powerful, so if you've not used that for anything yet, if you haven't necessarily really thought about it, this is a really good time to really consider that as part of your marketing strategy, because this makes UTM marketing a lot easier to understand than other articles that I've actually read. So I'm really proud that we have this one up there. The next article on the list is how to improve Google page speed using Google page speed user interaction metrics. That one is a mouthful. This one is really cool. It's talking about interactive design. It's talking about how you can still use these kinds of different kinds of interactions and actually keep the page speed up, because a lot of the new technology, I don't even want to say new technologies, a lot of technologies and scripts that run in a website can make them slow down, and they're not as responsive as they should be. So it is the way to speed that up is what this is about. Basically, if the response time, like they're saying in the article, if the response time between an action like a click and the response takes too long, the visitors lose faith in your site and probably turn to your competitors. So I have actually done this before. I've left sites that I know I got distracted by the comments. I've actually left websites before that I have thought that they have stopped working, that I pressed a button and it may have been loading, but there was no indication for about 30 seconds that it was. And so I left and went to another site to buy whatever it was or to do whatever I was doing. And I'm one of those people where I will give it time. Like, I understand how these web technologies work, that sometimes it takes a while to process things. But if you don't give an indication on how it's doing, or you actually just have a long response time, people will bounce. And so this article is on how to measure that and how to improve it. So I'm really interested in doing this, because anyone who runs a web app, especially more than just a normal blog, will see improvements by taking the time to look at this. I see Uncle Social says on YouTube that HootSuite has a link shortening service that lets you create your own ready-made UTM parameters so that when you're sharing something, you can select from one of your ready-made UTM profiles. That's awesome. He says it's handy and expensive. Right now, I will say that if you're interested in that, I signed up for a 60-day free trial on HootSuite, so that if you want to give that a try for their premium accounts, then there is I signed up for 60 days, so that is a much better way to try something out and actually gauge returns than usual trials or using a free account would. So thanks for that, Uncle Social. Now, moving into the very next one, I loved this article by TorqueMag because it is how to manage a large-scale WordPress site and its best practices on how to do that. And WordPress has come a long way over the last decade, and we're really we've moved entirely from simply a blogging platform into a complete tool for content management. And there are websites out there built on WordPress that have millions and millions and millions and millions of sales every minute of every day. There are people who have millions of views every day running on WordPress, and what this does is put a lot of strain on the website. Y'all know that. So talking about how to manage it, the first thing that they talk about is making sure that you're with the right hosting provider. I can't stress this enough that if you are getting suboptimal speeds, it may not be anything that you're doing. If you're running GTmetrix stuff and you're just not seeing the results after doing every single thing, every single best practice that you know of, check out your hosting. There are hosts that are faster and some that are slower than others. We do that, and I mentioned it last week when we were talking about the speed improvements in Divi, that we run improvement testing on and speed testing on different hosts, and there are absolutely differences on how hosts react. So if you're running a large scale business, you can absolutely increase your bottom line by getting the right hosting provider. And then going next, they actually mentioned doing like GTmetrix and different kind of pingdom stuff, page speed insights, all of that, where you can see what's up. They talk about making sure that you are taking advantage of SEO, because if you're not consistent about SEO with this one, with a large scale site, you're going to be competing with yourself. And that's why I actually wanted to bring this up, because we've talked about this before, and I'll talk about it again when I get into the resources, that right now, because of the way that Google has changed, it's not even that they are changing, it's that they have changed their algorithms. What we need to concentrate on is not cannibalizing our own links, that we need to not compete with ourselves, and that we need to make sure that we have the absolute best structure that we can, so that when we do rank for something, that we have the best content out there, even the best content compared to the rest of our site. So that is one thing that they talk about here. So I wanted to make sure you bring that up. They talk about tightening up your site security, that if you have a large website, that you need to make sure you're taking extra security measures. That may mean not using a free version of something, but hiring a firm, using an absolutely rock solid security premium plugin or service. And then they talk about database management and backups, that you want to do that constantly. Ordinary stuff, I want to say, like, this is ordinary WordPress stuff, but it's also things that are always good to talk about, that it's always good for somebody to be reminded that these are what you need to do to make sure that everything keeps running as smoothly as possible. Now, I'm going to skip this one, but for people who deal with this, there is a WP Beginner article on how to change your password in WordPress. That is an issue for some folks, so check that one out. And then B3 Media, I'm so sorry, you guys, I had something in my eye. B3 Media has an article that I'm going to go into on create a minimalistic mobile menu with Divi. And I know y'all we're going to be fixing this with the theme builder. We're going to be able to customize a whole lot. But one of the things that I have a problem with Divi is editing and making sure that the mobile menu does what I want it to do. It's probably because I am not great at customizing things like that. That it is not my necessarily my area. So when I saw this, I wanted to make sure that I shared it for people who are not like me, because this article gives you pure CSS that you can apply and edit to make your mobile menu look very, very slick, very, very clean. So they actually explain what each of them does, each snippet does rather, and they go through and, show you, they have different animations, they have different transparencies, all of that included, and it is just a full screen pretty menu, and it's a much better full screen menu than I was able to get whenever I was working on trying to do the exact same thing for one like this on my own. So I very, very much might be stealing this for myself, and by stealing I mean using the free information that they provide on this site. But I do like this one. It is a very minimalistic, easy to use menu, and I figure somebody out there wants a different mobile menu, and I thought this one gives you all the code that you need without having to use any kind of JavaScript or anything else. So it's just quick, clean, and easy addition to fix the mobile menu in a way that I say fix, but in order to style the mobile menu in any way that you want. I do see Uncle Social on YouTube say that he is finding it hard to resist the urge of moving to SiteGround after hearing they were so fast for WordPress, especially as they have servers in his country, the UK. They're good. I mean, there are just as good hosts out there. I can't speak to a lot of them just because I'm on SiteGround personally, but I think the one that I had the fastest time on was Cloudways when I was doing it. That was by far the fastest time that I've had on any of them, but it required more maintenance on my side, and I didn't have the time or energy to do that with everything else that I had going on, so I moved away. But that was the fastest for me. Just with the sites that I was running and working with clients on. So I ended up moving to one that I had recommended like this to SiteGround. But yeah, I mean, hosting is so important. That is the most important consideration. I mean, you need to consider your theme, you need to consider your image size, you need to consider optimization and scripts and how everything is loading and preloading. You absolutely have to consider that. Like, it is mega important. But you also need to consider your hosting. So we cannot stress this enough. The Divi chat episode that I linked in the tutorials is how to find your first clients when starting out in web design. I know a lot of you guys have asked about this, like how you find them, how you get them. They go through a great deal of talking about that, so you'll find some insight into that. I've only listened to part of the episode so far, but I think you'll get some use out of it. If you have any suggestions, if you guys have any kind of I got distracted here. Talking about Divi chat, Uncle Social says, is Pablo here? Divi chat, one of the guests was driving and live streaming. I have done that before. Not live streamed, but video and podcasting. So I am not one to judge. I had my friends in my podcast has a Slack channel, Slack server. So in one of our private channels, we were having a conversation, and I was doing the wrong thing and using voice chat to read and chat and everybody on Slack. And I should not have done that. They all yelled at me for doing that, but I understand her her doing that on Divi chat. So not recommending doing that, but it's I understand. I'm right there with you. So excuse me. So I see Jen. I think that's how you pronounce. I think it's Jen. She says that she's moving to SiteGround, and it seems like a good move for the moment. I'm glad to hear that. I always want to hear what other people are moving to and what kind of experiences you have, especially when we have such a close-knit community as we do in the WordPress area, that we really have to rely on word of mouth so much that I think that just being able to hear people like, hey, this is the experience I have with GoDaddy. Hey, this is the experience I have with WP Engine. Here's what happened with Flywheel and why it's great or terrible, or any of the others are great and terrible. Like those are the things that we like to hear. Like we love hearing those experiences. So thank you. I wanted to continue what I was saying before I got distracted about the Divi chat episode topic on finding your first clients. If anybody has comments on that or suggestions for people, that is kind of an evergreen question that I am certain that somebody is either watching right now or they are going to be watching this in the future, where they'll be wondering about that question. So if you have any advice, please feel free to throw it in the comments and let us know what advice you have for finding those freelance clients for development or design, especially when you're first starting out, because that is terrifying to start freelancing or moving out on your own and not really having a solid plan to get those clients, or just not having the experience of doing it. So I'm very interested to see what you guys have going on. I see that Subin, I hope I'm getting that right. Subin says, please, please, oh, please, we need full control over blog design and header and menu design. Hope the Divi team will work on it. It is also in QA right now, Subin. We are, it is, I don't know how long it's going to be, but it is in the final stages before deployment and push live. I guess that's the best way to put it. So that is coming with the, we call that the theme builder. That's going to be Divi 4.0. That is going to allow you to fully customize blog layouts. It's going to allow you to fully do your header menu and footers, and it's going to let you have like full control over pretty much every aspect of your site. That's the reason it's taking so long, is we want to make sure that we put it out, because put it out right, so that we don't break anything that any of you have, or as little of anything that you have. So I'm really hoping to get that out. Like, I'm not on the team to do that, but I'm really hoping we get that out soon, because I know it is in QA right now as well. And Nancy says the WooCommerce integration modules too. And I'd mentioned this earlier, but that one is coming. That one might even be before the theme builder, if the timeline I saw is, I mean, it goes in flux every day, but it's coming soon too. The WooCommerce integration modules look great from the stuff that I've seen internally. So y'all will be excited about that. Like, I really am glad that y'all are getting that. Dave does ask about on YouTube regarding the header and footer and theme builder, but then what would we bug you about? I guess we go back to layout packs, Dave, because that was a big deal when the stream first started, and now it's in the theme builder. So I guess we're gonna have to just start talking a lot more about the layout packs and what's going on. I've been on the internet long enough to know y'all will find something to bug me about. Uncle Social wants me to bring the dog calendar back, but it's just right over there. I can see it even if you can't. But yeah, I see Argante. I hope I'm saying that right. All Inkle. Yeah, I mean, it's in Germany, has Alinkel has a fantastic service and speed and good prices, and they speak English. Awesome, thank you. That's one that I'm not familiar with, but I know that I've not heard of it, but that's awesome. That's great. I love getting kinds of recommendations like that. That is why I love this show so much. So thank you. Because I know we have a good set of German users and viewers for this, so that's awesome. One thing that the Skiboo says is the one thing about SiteGround is their awesome free SG Optimizer plugin. It literally eliminates the need for 4 other plugins like an image optimizer and compression. And I have never used that. You know, I've been there a couple of years now, and I have never used the SG Optimizer plugin. And I guess I should. If it's that good, the next time I load up a site, I'll use that one and give it a shot, because I can't say anything about it. I absolutely will give it a try next time. Dave is still looking for a seaside motel layout pack. I will check the Trello board. Make me a note there, so that I will go on there and check that one out to see where the on the list everything is. I know I think I'd maybe mentioned that one before, and they did was it an Airbnb, like a seaside Airbnb, maybe something like that, or I may be remembering wrong on it. But yeah, so hopefully I'll see what I can do. And so I think that the Skiboo recommends SiteGround and WP Engine. And then Uncle Social still wants his Japanese llama farmers in the Middle East layout pack. And one day for April Fools, the design team will do that. But yeah. Now moving on. I think it was Donyetta who did this. It might have been Jason, but the next one on the list is turning oversized characters into background masks with Divi, and it has a free download for this. What I really like about this one is I've told you before, the reason I like Donyetta and Jason's stuff is that they take an element of something and do things with it that you may not even consider possible with Divi, or you know how to do it with Divi until you see them. It's like, oh yeah, that's exactly how you do that. It's beautiful. And that's kind of the way this is with these character masks. They're absolutely gorgeous to be able to use these hero sections like this, and it is beautiful. Like, that's basically what I need to say, is that go download these hero sections from this post, and you can use them yourself and customize them. I do want to point out that it asks for your email address to download, internet standard practices. And if you're already subscribed to our emails, you're not going to get extras. I do want to point that out because people may not realize it. So just grab it. But the Divi newsletter is fantastic, and you should be signed up for it regardless. And then, talking about optimizing your site, there is a WPMU Dev article on why you should optimize WordPress by fixing your images. This one, again, is apparently this episode, to interrupt myself, this episode is apparently about optimizing your websites. So if that's not on your mind, I'm going to say that subconsciously I think it should be on yours, because it is subconsciously on mine. This is something that I've never really taken seriously, and that's one of the things that they talk about, like, until very recently. I mean, that they say if you've never taken image optimization seriously and your WordPress site is slow, then you have the most to gain by doing it right. I didn't even realize until the other day when I went back to look at some old sites that I was resizing full size, like 4,000, like, I don't even know if you guys can see all of this, like 4,000 pixel width and height images down to like a 400 by 400 square, and it was like, why am I doing that? Why don't I just resize the image? Because I was doing it in real time. I was doing it by scripts, and so it was like, why would I do that? And that's the kind of thing that helps with optimization, that it sped up my site. By the time I went through and fixed everything, I got a full second off of the site. So it was like, yeah, maybe there's something to this. So like they say in this article, images are by far the worst offenders of slowing down your site. The way that we load scripts is a probably a close second, because scripts can slow down your site like mad, and they talk about different ways to do it. So just go through this. Make sure they're the right size for their container is probably the biggest one. Like I said, I was using 4,000 by 4,000 when I needed 400 by 400. So that is a big goof on my part, and it's something that I'm pretty sure, like I said before, that's probably something that someone watching has done, maybe not even realized it. So if you go back and check to see how big they are in their loading, then maybe it's a good idea to that you'll find that you've done that. So it's just cool stuff. Like, it talks about optimizing WordPress by enabling lazy loading. I may be one of the few who can't get lazy loading to work right. That the sites I'm using it on apparently have apparently just broken when I've used different lazy loading functions in different plugins. So I'm gonna say that I'm doing something wrong, because it is a very good feature. And using CDNs and things like that. So absolutely check that out. Y'all know that WPMU Dev pretty much doesn't steer you wrong on anything they're doing. And good article. The next one I want to talk about is 10. Nope. Yes. No, I got confused on my list. I do that. The next one I want to talk about is, what is an email blast? Y'all know that, but how to do an email blast the right way. And this is the hard part, that y'all email, and I've talked about email, y'all signing up for hours, but email is something that there is an art to this, that I had every single, I had no idea how how wrong most of us end up doing email marketing, until my wife went to an email marketing conference that was held by the service Emma, myemma.com, which is what she uses for her job. And when they were going through all this stuff, it was like, we're all doing things wrong, and they were showing the statistics. And that's one of the reasons I wanted to point this article out for you guys, is that if you ever send out email blasts, then you should check this one out, because they talk about just the things that you should be doing. Because there are things that will make people not read your emails, but there are also ways to do this that will make people open them up, that are really psychology more than anything else. I had recently logged into one of my old MailChimp accounts and was looking at stuff, and they've changed a lot of stuff on there, and they've changed some of the things because it was free, they've changed some of the functionality that you can add to and all of this. I ended up going to a service called MailerLite that I've really liked. So if that's something that you guys are looking at, they talk about choosing the best blast email service. And so I did some research and fell on, for a free one, I liked MailerLite for a new project, and there are tons of them. And if you need a premium one, Emma is great. Constant Contact. They mentioned Sendinblue, ConvertKit. They're all magnificent. MailChimp is great. I was just on the free plan, so they took some of my stuff away. But they're all absolutely fantastic. But you need to find one that works for you and has the features that you need for yours. They talk about actually working and segmenting your list. segmenting your list takes a lot of time. That if you're not a marketer, if you're not a someone who sits at the computer dealing with this all the time, segments can be really intimidating. But once you segment out that list, you will have so much power over how you contact your customers and your user base that it's worth every second that you spend on that. So that's a really, really good article that I really suggest that you guys take a look at if you're either getting into email marketing, you've not had the success with email marketing that you've wanted, or maybe if you just do email marketing and want to make sure you're doing it right. So that is one thing to check out. I see the Ski Boo says every single time someone comes to me, on YouTube rather, comes to me and tells me their website is slow, the very first thing is I look at and fix their images. And Uncle Social's response to it was, but this image has to look its best. That's why I've used a 28 megabyte TIFF, which is not unheard of. Yeah. So raise your hand if you've ever logged into a website that had a TIFF on it. So yeah, I'm just gonna, this is one of those moments where I said that and I'm thinking, I'm like, I can't even, like, this is I don't even know where to go from there. So speaking of logging into a website, the TorqueMag article under the email article I just mentioned is 10 easy steps to successfully take over an existing WordPress website. And this breaks people sometimes. There are so many things that you have to think about. Just with a client that I was working with about 2 years ago, when we were working on it together, the very first thing that they did was give me the username and password. Pretty common, pretty ordinary first step. And then I logged in and I had 0 permissions, which it then involved having to contact 2 other people to get an account that had admin privileges. So that took a bunch of extra time and contact and work that could have been done if, everybody had access to everything like written down, if those things had been kept all together, like passwords for the WordPress site, for other managed accounts, different services that were linked to it, stuff like that. If you are going to take over something, that is a big request that I always suggest, is to ask them to consolidate all of the passwords, all of the usernames for anything that you're going to need, and give that to you all at once or within a list of as much of it as they can think of, and it will save a lot of headache in the future. Wasn't a big deal. I mean, it's fine, but that when it happened to me, but time is money, and so I couldn't work on the stuff that they needed me to work on until all of that was done. They talk about making sure that you change all the passwords, that the very last thing that you want is a disgruntled former employee being able to log into that site and sabotage something. It's always a good idea to change passwords anyway, but when you're getting a new account, when you're getting a new admin, all of that, just make sure you use LastPass or 1Password and keep everything up to date and change. Use a spreadsheet if you have to, but I highly suggest LastPass or 1Password. They talk about, this one's really important, and it's something I hadn't actually thought about before, is make sure that you become a part of their project infrastructure. Make sure that you get added into their Asana and Trello and Slack if they use them, their Dropbox and Google Drive, their GitHub if they do any kind of development on GitHub, just so that you can have access to seeing how things are moving along in the issues and bug reports. Getting access to the social media accounts should be included with the admin passwords, because a lot of times if you're taking over a WordPress site, you may be taking over social media duties. If you're not doing that, then you probably shouldn't try to get into their Twitter. But then stuff like Hootsuite and Buffer are available if they consolidate them into one. Their email marketing list, if that's going to be part of your job, their web analytics, that if you get an admin password to their site, make sure that you get access to their Google Analytics site, your account, that you need to be able to access that information. Either they give you the account they use for it, you get added in as a team member, whatever it is incredibly important that you get the analytics account information and search console and all of that stuff. Because again, when I was working on another project, having that information was imperative to me doing my job well. So that one is actually the job I had right before I joined up with ET here, but that I had to have that access, and it was something that none of us had thought of before we got into the point where it's like, oh yeah, there's no way I can do my job without this. So make sure that you get added in, because that's something that you might not consider. I see I want to pause for just 1 second, and I see George Felton asking on Facebook if there are any discounts coming up. Honestly, I don't know. I'm not involved in that kind of planning, and I haven't heard of one, so I'm gonna say no. But you never know. But as far as I know, and don't hold me to this by anything coming straight from the only one I know of that's coming out is the Black Friday sale. We tend to do a Black Friday sale every year. But in terms of right now, having an upcoming one in the coming weeks, I have not heard about it. If we are and we do, it will be, I will be sure to let you guys know as soon as I know anything like that. I also see. I want to point at YouTube that says Nancy says that she just fixed a site that had ridiculous image sizes. That migrating it to SiteGround and optimizing the images dropped its load times in half. The best, and then Uncle Social says the best thing about email marketing is that those people after GDPR who have actively signed up and they actively want to hear from you, that it's a willing and hungry audience. That is absolutely true. That's why email is important. Like to touch on the other article with that, the email gets directly to them. And I know it's one of those things that really seems like a paradox, because people try to phase out email. Like companies, as a company, I'm so glad that we use Slack instead of email. Like, so many people have moved away from it as a primary tool of communication, but I guarantee you that you check your email just as much as you do Slack, which is why it's important for you to get people's email addresses. Because I see, even when I'm waiting on a business email or somebody to contact me about something like that, I'm going to see those newsletters, the newsletters for companies and brands that I've signed up for and want to hear from. And I see Argante on YouTube says, could you please tell this ignorant German, please, when is Black Friday? Black Friday is the day after Thanksgiving in the U.S. It is usually the third Friday of November. It is... I don't remember the actual way that they decide when Thanksgiving is, but it's usually the last, usually either the third or the very last Thursday in November. And Black Friday is the day after that. So usually around November 27th, 28th-ish, around there. And it is a huge shopping day in the U.S. So people tend to go out. Like, it's the like biggest one day of the year for shopping in the United States. So like Amazon, like they also have a thing called Cyber Monday, where they do the same thing, except the next Monday, and it's online deals, which nowadays it's all online deals, basically. So it's just a weekend of deals and discounts. So thank you, Ryland, for saying Black Friday in the YouTube chat, for saying that Black Friday in 2019 is the 29th of November. I really appreciate that. I couldn't go look for it right now. So I see everybody's thanking you for that. That's awesome. So going back to the taking over the WordPress site, I want to point out another point that they make. Point out a point that they make that is really, really important. That you need to turn yourself into the single point of contact. That when you take over this site, change the general settings to have your email in it. Whatever email you're going to use for that business, whatever it is, change it to yours. Because I started getting emails on the same site that I took over before I mentioned. I started getting emails from the client, from their previous web dev, on why they were getting all of these admin emails and things that were going on. And it was because I didn't change myself into that point of contact. Like, I didn't think about it because it was a short-term site for that one. And when I did that, the previous one, who was no longer employed, was just getting bombarded with all of these admin emails. So I had to change myself into that to be able to alleviate that from the previous fellow. So that is a lesson I learned, and it's something that I want to point out for you guys, that when you do that. They also say, while at it, go through the other admin level users and check if everyone who's on there deserves to be, and that they have the right access level. Could not be more important to do that, because again, you don't want people to have access to that. Then you don't want people to have access to that site that don't need it. Video Superhero asks, what's up with asking Divi to have use of the Mapbox option in addition to Google Maps? Muy importante. I have heard nothing about that. Absolutely zero. Sorry. I wish I did. That is one that I have seen absolutely zero from. There are lots of dead Google Maps. That's where people don't even know that their Google Maps are dead. I don't know I haven't heard anything, though. I'm really sorry about that. But you're right. That is when they're embedded on people's Divi sites, that the Google Maps with the API changes and everything. That one I'm completely out of the loop on. I know that right now, I know that there is a push for bug fixes and things like that is about to... excuse me. I got distracted by your comments too. That if you don't set up the Google Maps API, that is dead after one view. That's the kind of bug that will be quashed. Well, the kind of bug, I don't know if that one in particular, but there's going to be a bug fixing kind of initiative that's going to be coming very soon, that we were talking about it in a meeting. So hopefully that will be one of them that gets addressed. And I see Nancy asks, is it true that you have to pay for Google Maps now? Goodness, I hope not. I haven't heard about that. If there's a premium thing, that I've not heard about it. Uncle Social says the biggest online sales day worldwide by a big margin is Singles Day on 11/11 in China. That it blows Black Friday out of the water. China is controlling a lot of the economies and stuff like that, like movies, the things like that are being made specifically for Chinese audiences. So that does not surprise me at all. I need to look into Singles Day then. That one's new to me. Oh no, I changed everything. I hit the corner of my screen. And then the last one under tutorials before moving very briefly into the resources at the end of the show. We actually published an article on Elegant Themes by John Hughes this week that is a simple guide to creating a business plan for web professionals. And if you're out, this goes into the freelancing, this goes into the finding clients, all of that. The business plans are incredibly important. That if you don't have a business plan, please sit down, look at this website, look at this blog, and consider the points to be able to put yourself forward, to be able to figure out honestly, your position where you are now and where you want to be, your trajectory, because it is incredibly important. Business plans can be kind of tricky. I've sat down a number of times and tried to write a business plan, not having any real like business training, and get very, very baffled by parts of it. And then reading John's article, it was very, very simple. Like, he is not kidding on this one, where you like outline your business goals, what are your products and services, who's your target audience, and then like figuring out how you're going to market to them, map out that actual plan, figure out what problems you're solving with that audience, determine what your operational needs and organizational structures are. Like, are you going to do this solo? Are you going to do this? Are you going to need a team of 5 people? Are you going to overextend yourself if you only have 5 people? Things like that. Are you going to need to be able to outsource or subcontract something, or is this going to have to be an employee situation or a partner situation? They talk about any kind of legal requirements, because not everybody operates under the same laws that you may not. I don't know how laws work in different countries. I don't know if I would be able to move to Spain and work as a freelancer, as a self-employed person, and not have to set myself up as a business. Just things like that you need to find out. And I see, I pointed a finger at there, like, hold on one second, I'll get to you. Add a chat box. I would just like to call that out to you guys, that this has gotten to me, that you are such real people to me. I think that you know what I'm talking about, and like you're speaking, and like, hold on, Nia. And the last one is figuring out your finances. You have to make sure that, as we say here in the South, that you're not getting too big for your britches, that you have to be able to afford what you're doing, and that you're not going to put yourself in the red so often that you can't come back from it. I owned a coffee shop business back in 2007, and that's exactly what happened. We didn't consider things well enough, and we were working our way out of the red, and it was just almost impossible. So I took a teaching job. But that's the kind of thing that you need to absolutely figure out your finances as much as you possibly can. Uncle Social says, answered Nia. Nia, it was your question on where's the website for the business plan again, and I will link it in the chat here as well for everyone who's watching. But yeah, it's in the description of the video, and the last one, it's at the bottom of the tutorials, right above the resources. See, Video Superhero asked, did they ever give you feedback on why they aren't using the thumbnail image path for gallery settings module? I've not found that out. That is one that I am looking for. That was one that I've been poking through different reports and things like that, and I've not found on there, but I was looking. I've not figured that out. And then Argante says, could you please tell the Elegant Themes people because of the GDPR, it's so important to upload your own fonts for the global site, like where you determine the overall colors, for example. I may not be following exactly, because I know you can upload your own fonts into the Divi builder, and that gives you access globally. Is there something else like that? Or like Uncle Social asks, are you talking about issues around CDNs and third-party hosting? Because you can do that in the Divi builder under fonts, and I'm trying to think how that will work, because we have global defaults coming where we'll be able to set defaults for every kind of blurb, every kind of text module or anything like that on the site or the page as well. And you will be able to upload fonts and stuff like that to use with those. So I'm trying to just think off the top of my head, like, that's what I know that you upload for global. Like, let me know if in the time that we've got left, if you can, about that, because I am not sure. And then in the resources, I've got time for one more down here. The Yoast one, that is the third down under resources in the video description here, is there such a thing as too much high quality content? And this goes back to what we were speaking about earlier in terms of SEO optimization. That the is like there such a thing as too much high quality content. Like, you can be competing with yourself for keywords and ranking spots, and you can knock yourself out where one page doesn't get any traffic because another one is simply a better article. And this is a very, very fantastic article about what you can do to fix that, talking about picking which URL, picking a new message for a new post, deciding on the structure of how you're going to put the text together, keywords, and writing new paragraphs, updating old ones. And if you have content that is competing against its brother or sister, then you can use this article kind of as a baseline. Argante, and so that's the article, that last article I wanted to wrap up with. Argante says you can only upload for modules and bits and pieces, but not globally. I did not know that. Like, anytime I have uploaded, actually, I haven't uploaded a font in so long that I don't remember. I say that, and it's like I don't remember that, but I've been using the built-in fonts in Divi since we made that update, and I don't remember. So I do know we have an article on Elegant Themes about being able to upload your fonts to the server and do that. I know we have one on the blog that you can search for to do that. I don't have the URL of that one just on hand, but it is there. Let me see if I can find it. Maybe this will be the last thing that I do. It's one that's not going through the Divi builder, but it is a going through the web server, and if I can find it. Well, I can't find it right now. But there is an article on our site to do that. I might have written it or updated it or something. That's why it's stuck in my head. But you can do that. And you say, Argante says, yeah, third-party sites like Google Fonts forces them to write a lot of legal stuff, which needs to be written by a lawyer, and that's expensive. Really? Man, we are bad at GDPR in America. I didn't know that. Wow, that's crazy. Well, I learned something today as we wrap up. So that is all the time I've got, you guys. I will look into those things that I told you guys that I will look into. Hopefully I will have some answers, or at least some I trieds next week. And want to thank you all for tuning in. Every Friday afternoon we do this at 3 p.m. Eastern. So set your calendars, set an alarm clock, tell your phone to remind you. And more importantly, tell YouTube to remind you by clicking the bell and telling Facebook that you want to get notifications whenever our page goes live. Because if you do that, you will not only get notified when this show starts every Friday at 3 p.m., you will find out when Mac goes live, when new Divi features are updated and added, and you will also see when Donyetta and Jason go live and go through use cases to show you Divi tips and tricks on how to use it in real world scenarios. So you don't want to miss any of that. So make sure that you subscribe and click the notification thing, because subscribing does not specifically notify you about live events anymore. So if you are missing out on live from us or anyone else, then that may be why. I see people are saying to smash the thumbs up button to make me smiley. That is true. I'm a smiley person, but that would make me smilier. So definitely thumbs up. I will see you. If you guys, I got confused. I said if. But thank you guys. I really appreciate you coming out. I hope you have a fantastic weekend. I hope you have a fantastic week. And remember, you can always submit your articles to be included, or at least looked at to be included by using hashtag #WeeklyWP Roundup, and we will for sure look at them and be able to talk more. So until next Friday, bye everybody.